Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavirajikacharya Stota Satashi Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder, BBT founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavirajikacharya Stota Satashi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Prem Sahoko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Ranakun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Yamuna Maya Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulasi Devi Ki. Shamaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you for all joining. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 19, King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices, text number 3. Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Hari Ishvaraha Anvabhuyata Sarva Atma Sarva Loka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Hari Ishvara Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Hari Ishvara Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra Yagyapati Shakshad Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Anvabhuyata Sarvatma Sarvaloka Guru Prabhu Yatra, where? Yagyapati, the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Shakshat, directly. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hari, Lord Vishnu. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Controller. Anvabhuyata, became visible. Sarva Atma, the Supersoul of everyone. Sarva Loka Guru, the Master of all planets, or the Teacher of everyone. Prabhu, the Proprietor. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, and he is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prithu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki. In this verse, the word Shakshat is significant. Prithu Maharaj was a Shakti Avesh avatar incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Actually, Prithu Maharaj was a living entity, but he acquired specific powers from Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, however, is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva. Maharaj Prithu belonged to the Jiva Tattva. The Vishnu Tattva indicates God, whereas the Jiva Tattva indicates the part and parcel of God. When God's part and parcel is especially empowered, he is called Shakti Avesh Avatar. Lord Vishnu herein is described as Hari Ishvara. The Lord is so kind that he takes all miserable conditions away from his devotees. Consequently, he is called Hari. He is described as Ishvara because he can do whatever he likes. He is the supreme controller. The Supreme Ishvara Purushottama is Lord Krishna. He exhibits his powers as Ishvara, or the Supreme Controller, when he assures his devotee in Bhagavad Gita 1866, "Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear." He can immediately make his devotee immune from all the reactions caused by sinful life, if the devotee simply surrenders unto him. He is described herein as Sarvatma, meaning that he is present in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, and as such, he is the supreme teacher of everyone. If we are fortunate enough to take the lessons given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, our lives immediately become successful. No one can give better instructions to human society than Lord Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Garamaya Dadati Svambarantikam Vandeham Shikuru Shiyuta Parakamalam Shikurun Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsijivam Sadvetam Savudutam Parijana Shihitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kantarada Kantanamastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpa Triyubhisha Kripa Sindhubi Ivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let me read the verse again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as the Supersoul, and he is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifices made by King Prithu. So Hare Krishna, thank you everyone for joining. So this chapter we see that King Prithu Maharaj was conducting the 100-horse sacrifices, and Indra became quite jealous, and he started to create all of these obstacles, including stealing the horse for King Prithu. So looking at this purport, Srila Prabhupada, he brings out a few important words. The first word is shakshat. And this is very significant in this verse because Prithu Maharaj was a Shakti Avesh avatar. He was an empowered living entity with the potency of the Supreme Lord. And in the Shastra, we get different kinds of Shakti Avesh avatars who manifest different potencies of the Lord. They are not the Supreme Lord, but the Lord has invested spiritual potency in them. But not all of his potency, just whatever is required for the reason they have come. So they are part of the Jiva, they are Jiva Atma, they are part of Jiva Tattva, who have descended from the spiritual world in order to fulfill a specific purpose for a particular time. So Prithu Maharaj, he was empowered with Palana Shakti, and Palana Shakti is the potency for maintaining living entities and executing duties as an ideal king. And that we see with Prithu Maharaj, he was an ideal king. So that was his specific potency he was empowered with. And then there are other examples of Shakti Avesh avatars, such as Narada Muni, who was invested with Bhakti Shakti, the potency to disseminate pure devotional service. And Prabhupada always describes Narada Muni as this transcendental spaceman who travels throughout the different universes and planets. And then we also get the 4 Kumaras who are invested with Jnana Shakti, the potency to disseminate transcendental knowledge. And then there's also Parashuram, who had the potency to destroy evil forces from the planet. So Krishna, we know, can do all of these things himself. He can directly perform everything, but he sometimes empowers a living entity. So it's very kind of Krishna to give someone the service, like even Srila Prabhupada. He could have done everything, but he also wanted to give some service and empower his disciples. So unless one has been invested with Krishna Shakti, he cannot disseminate devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada would often quote this verse from CC Antyalila 7:11. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So one has to be empowered by the Supreme Lord. Otherwise he won't make any difference, or he wouldn't make any influence on the world. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he emphasizes the importance of this word Shakshat. He is not the Supreme Lord, but the Lord is acting through him. And then another important word from the purports that Srila Prabhupada mentions, well, in the verse, is Hari Ishvara. And when we look at the two words separately, Hari we know is the name for the Lord who takes away the miserable conditions from the devotees. And also he is Ishvara because he can do whatever he likes. He's the supreme controller, and he is also fully independent. No one can control Krishna. But we also hear that only the pure devotees and pure devotional service is the only way that Krishna allows himself to be controlled. But again, the Lord allows himself to be controlled. The choice is always his. So that's why he is Ishvara. He always has the supreme position to be controlled. And the living entities, we also have our choices, but it is much, much smaller. So we can either choose to be controlled by Krishna or choose to be controlled by Maya. And once we choose not Krishna, then things are not so good for us. But yeah, so when we're chosen to be controlled by the illusory energy, then we are completely under the grips of the illusory energy, because Maya is a very dedicated servant of Krishna, so she takes her service very, very seriously. So therefore we are not Ishvara, because once we are controlled by the illusory energy, we have no control over ourselves. So how to become free from the illusory energy? Only by the influence of Hari Ishvara. Only the Lord can actually take away the reactions of our sinful life. So Hari, he takes away. So we are always happy when Krishna takes away the reactions of sinful life, but sometimes we've seen that Krishna also takes away other things that we might like. For example, he might take away our opulence or wealth or prestige or good position or beauty or age. So all of these things are also taken away. But that's also the kindness of the Lord, because he doesn't want to implicate us in further sinful reaction. So him taking away our so-called good things is also his mercy and his kindness. So the reactions of our sinful life is the cause of our misery, and there are three sources: papan, or sinful activity; bijam, or the seed of the sinful desire; and avidya, which is ignorance. So all these three sources of suffering can be eradicated from Krishna. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Verse 15, only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. And then this is just part of the purport. So these sinful reactions are divided into three categories: Pataka, Mahapataka, and Atipataka, and also into two divisions: Prarabdha and Aprarabdha. Prarabdha refers to sinful reactions from which one is suffering at the present, and Aprarabdha refers to sources of potential suffering. When the seeds, or bija, of sinful reactions have not yet fructified, the reactions are called aprarabdha. These seeds of sinful action are unseen, but they are unlimited, and no one can trace where they first were planted. Because prarabdha, sinful reactions, that have already fructified, one is seen to have taken birth in a low family or to be suffering from other miseries. So there's even the chance that more will come later. So aprarabdha is also the desire for sinful desires. And this sinful proclivity or inclination also needs to be removed. So papa, bijam, and avidya are all the causes of suffering. But Krishna, as Hari, he takes away all of these reactions through devotional service. So that verse that I just quoted, Srila Prabhupada would actually often quote that verse, because anyone engaged in devotional service can uproot all of the desires that are within the heart without possibility of them coming back. So they are lying dormant in the heart and they are unseen, but in due course of time they will spring up again. But a fried seed or a burned seed will never fructify. So only when the seed is burnt up by the fire of devotional service, then it will never fructify. So how we uproot this, or how we burn the seed? Hari Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, who is the controller, who takes away all of the reactions. Shri Shri Radharanath ki, Shri Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Gaura Hariya ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And of course, Srila Prabhupada quotes the very famous Bhagavad Gita verse, 1866. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, just by surrendering, Krishna will take away all of these reactions. And he assures us, do not fear. Because the living entity, we are always in constant fear and anxiety. What is coming? What is lurking? What are we going to suffer for next? Or what is going to be taken away from us? So sometimes actually it's the fear itself that we are afraid of. So the Lord eradicates all of these reactions, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they are all gone, but it means that he minimizes them. He minimizes the reactions for his devotees, especially those engaged in devotional service. So we apparently should be suffering a lot more, but the devotee, he remembers Krishna, and because of that, it is minimized. And how does he minimize these reactions? He takes away the fear. Because that is actually what is the biggest cause to fear, is the fear itself. So we can understand that, yes, we are suffering, but by Krishna taking away the fear, most of the suffering is already eradicated. Because we know that no matter what, Krishna is there for us. And if we just continue on this path, he will protect us no matter what. So he's so kind that just by remembering him, he minimizes the suffering. But it's not always immediately. But we know through Shastra and through the spiritual master, through Srila Prabhupada, that by devotional service and by surrendering, the future is always bright for us. There's nothing to fear. So this very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, actually all of the components of surrender are mentioned in the previous verse in 1865. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So there is exactly what surrender is. Just think of Krishna. Surrender means to think of him, which means to not think that we are able to relieve our suffering through other means, because we'll never be successful without Krishna. And sometimes we actually get caught up in all of these other means of relieving our suffering that we forget about Krishna. And it's very natural, I know for myself, sometimes we take to other things to help us relieve stress or anxiety, or to make us happy, or to regulate emotions, all of these things. And sometimes Krishna is like the last resort, you know. But actually, none of those things will work without Krishna. So we might as well just go to Krishna to relieve all suffering. So we can also see in the example of the Avanti Brahmana in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything was taken away from him due to the influence of time, the Devi gods, providence, and he was left with nothing. He lost his family, his wealth, everything was taken away. And before everything was taken away, he was very greedy and miserly. But from him losing everything, renunciation was actually awoken in his heart. And he could ultimately see that it was due to providence. But then he would internally meditate on the Lord. People were, they were tying him up, they were insulting him, they were chaining him, and they really mistreated him very badly. But he was just always thinking that if I'm fully surrendered to the Lord, and I should just accept everything as the will of the Lord. So the verse, and even Lord Chaitanya, when he took sannyas, he would quote this verse from Bhagavatam 11:23-57. I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of nescience by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This was approved by the previous acharyas, who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord, Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, it's emphasized that if we just try surrender to Krishna, everything will be okay. And that's what all the previous acharyas also did. But again, not so easy. So luckily, we have Prabhupada, who has given us so much to always try remember Krishna. I mean, even just coming into this temple, Krishna is everywhere. So it's a bit difficult to forget him when you just look up, you look there, you look anywhere, and you just see him. So it's always very nice to just stay in this temple if you are finding difficulties of just trying to remember Krishna. That's what I do. I just look up. So even when the mind wanders, you're looking at Krishna, so you can't help but think of him. So another word that Srila Prabhupada talks about from the verse is sarvatma. And this word means that Krishna is present in everyone's heart as the super soul. And this also means that he is the supreme teacher of everyone. And he also mentions in the purport that if we are fortunate enough to take lessons from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, our lives immediately become successful. No one can actually give better instructions than Krishna himself. So I like how Prabhupada, he says, if we are fortunate enough to take the lessons. So that means it's not just reading the Bhagavad Gita, it's actually being fortunate enough to try and apply it to our lives and to try imbibe the lessons in our own lives. So that's actually what it means to be truly fortunate, not just reading it, but actually trying to understand the essence and trying to act upon these instructions. So those were some of the words that Srila Prabhupada emphasizes from the verse in the purport and why they're important. And also what this verse also reminded me of the famous Bhagavad Gita text number 5, chapter 5, text number 29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatvam shantim richate. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor as well as well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. And we know that Prabhupada would call this the peace formula. And it really is the peace formula, because when we understand that Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer, that also in a way will help us get over our envy, because when we want to enjoy for ourselves, that's what causes envy, because those people are enjoying more than me, so I must be envious now. And it also helps because many people think we must make offerings to the demigods, thinking that they can help us in material life. But we don't have to offer separately. All of them are getting their part already from Vishnu. It's like when the king or the president or someone famous comes and he comes with his entourage, they also get respect as well, because they are part of the king or the president. So the demigods are already getting their part of the share of the sacrifice, so rather just go directly to Krishna. They're not independently getting any credit for themselves. So saying this emphasis on King Pritubina Shakti-Avesh avatar is also in a way to tell us to not be confused, that thinking that he is God. So Vishnu is there, Lord Vishnu is personally present. So we can understand that Lord Vishnu and King Prithu are not the same. It's Jiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. And we can also, when we think of a Shakti Avesha avatar, we can also think of Srila Prabhupada, because no one else has been able to distribute Krishna consciousness the way that Srila Prabhupada has. So he, of course, was invested with the spiritual potency. And when we think of the greatness of King Prithu or Srila Prabhupada, we can still, of course, directly link it to Krishna himself. Because in Bhagavad Gita 10:41, Krishna says that, "Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor." So the greatness that we see in these Shakti Avesha avatars all come from Krishna. And not only that, but anything wonderful and great comes from Krishna. Arjuna even asks in the Bhagavad Gita how we can remember Krishna. And Krishna in the 10th chapter gives all of these many, many ways that we can remember him. For example, he is the strength in man. So any strength or greatness we see in someone is just a spark of Krishna's splendor. And but being a Shakti Avesha avatar, we don't just have to be like a King Prithu or Srila Prabhupada. Actually, anyone who has a very strong desire to serve Krishna, anyone who wants to serve the Lord very intimately and has a very great desire, Krishna actually empowers that person. So it's actually the desire of the living entity that will influence the Lord to empower them. And we've actually seen that when someone genuinely has a very sincere desire to serve, no matter in what capacity, Krishna will give them all the facilities and Krishna will give them all of the abilities. For example, we even see with Kadambini Swami, when he was so ill, he had such a desire to be in Vrindavan, to be there with the disciples and to serve, that even though he was so ill and he was getting weaker, he was so empowered by the Lord because of that strong desire. So he would still do these 3-hour-long kirtans without getting tired, and even all of us would get tired just by dancing in the kirtan, and he would go on because he had such a great desire. So therefore the Lord would empower him. So Krishna says, just offer everything unto him. All of the austerities, penances, do it for him. Do it an offering to him, because Prabhupada also gives that example about watering the roots and not the leaves. So the hand, for example, cannot enjoy separately. The hand is just bringing food to the mouth, which brings it to the stomach, which sustains the whole body. So this point really emphasizes that it's in our own self-interest as well that we can try to make Krishna happy. And making Krishna happy is actually not that difficult, because he does kind of tell us, a lot of the time how to make him happy. Here he says in the Bhagavad Gita, just offer everything unto him, try to share the message, try to share his teachings and his message to others, chant his holy name, associate with devotees. So many things that actually can make Krishna happy, and we see that also makes us happy as well. So no one is actually higher than Krishna, so no one can interfere with his plan. We are just his servants. We can't actually interfere with anything he's doing. That's why he is Ishvara. But we should never doubt what will happen if we surrender to Krishna. We should never doubt thinking, now I've taken to this path, what are people going to think of me? Or how will I survive? Or what's going to become of me? Because when we surrender to Krishna, he will take away all of the obstacles. Maybe we won't always see that, and we will still think there are many obstacles, but we should just try to develop that firm faith that he does know what is best for us, and he has and to develop that firm faith in him. And Rukmini was even talking about how envy is from we feel lacking or insecure, and that actually comes from mistrust of Krishna, when we don't trust completely what Krishna has given to us or what Krishna will do for us or has done for us. So actually the great devotees, they're not worried about worldly obligations. And that doesn't mean to just forget about everything you need to do, but to do everything with not being worried about the results. So doing everything we need to do in the world, but not worrying about the results. There's no need to ever fear when we surrender to Krishna. But we can also see the difference between this practical knowledge and theoretical knowledge is when something actually difficult happens in our life. And what will we take shelter of? Will we take shelter of material things, or will we take shelter of the Lord? So here we can really test, are we just understanding this knowledge from the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita theoretically, or are we actually trying to understand it practically? So that's where Krishna will actually see where our devotion lies. Will we put this theoretical knowledge into practice? So there was this, I was listening to this lecture by Vedanta Chaitanya Prabhu, and he was talking about, there was this famous doctor who was also an atheist. And this family came to him with their young little girl who had a heart condition. She was a young child, and she needed this heart operation because even with the operation, she only had like 30% chance of survival. So before she was going to be operated on, he spoke to the little girl and said, "I'm just going to open up your heart, and it will be very small, so don't worry, it will be okay." And she said, my parents told me that the Lord lives within my heart. So when you open up my heart, please can you tell me what he looks like? How does he look? How big is he? And the doctor was quite astounded by this. Him being an atheist, his heart was kind of melted in a way by her pure innocence and her deep faith that the Lord is in her heart. So he was thinking, okay, now when I do this operation, I need to tell her something. So when he operated, he opened the heart, and something went wrong, and she wasn't going to make it. And he thought, oh no, I can't have this happen. She really wants to know what the Lord is like in her heart. So he actually started to pray to God, and he said, this girl has such innocence and such strong faith in you. Please, if you like, please allow her to survive. And then she did. She made it out okay. And the doctor had this realization that, yes, he can treat patients, but ultimately the one who cures patients, the one who cures them or saves them is God himself. So Krishna is there whether we believe it or not. And we are told from Shastra that he is within our hearts. And sometimes people think it's like a sixth sense. And Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu was also talking about instincts in animals. People say all of these things. In animals, it's natural instinct. In humans, we can have a sixth sense. But all of this is Krishna within the heart, because he gives us the knowledge. He gives us knowledge, or he can make us forget as well. So the Paramatma in our heart is actually very much guiding us in our lives, even if we don't believe it or not. But again, if we are fortunate enough to take the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, then immediately our lives will be successful. This is what Srila Prabhupada has said in this purport. But like I was mentioning, it mustn't be done in a ritualistic way, but actually seeing that any situation that happens in our life, to actually see the relevance of that situation in the Shastra. And that is actually how we study Bhagavad Gita. So actually, when we read each verse, a way to deeply study it is, how is this verse applied in our own lives? How can we apply it in our own lives? And that's when we are really trying to understand the Shastra, because it is all for us. It's not these magical, whimsical stories about Krishna, but it's actually meant to help us in life and help us get to Krishna. So when we read, we should always try to understand how it is relevant in our own lives. And Srila Prabhupada, he's captured the essence of everything. He's given us the Maha Mantra. He's given us devotional service to do. In the temple, there's so many wonderful things that we can all do. And he's even given us the opportunity to speak and listen about Krishna every day. Here we come every day and we have classes on Srimad Bhagavatam. We have classes on Krishna book, and we have classes about Srila Prabhupada. So we are very fortunate that we can come together and have these opportunities, because I know that some other temples in the country, unfortunately, they don't have the facility to give class every day. But here we can come together and always hear about Krishna. So it actually makes it very much easy. We just come and listen. And this is all part of the process of surrender. But it's not only just doing service or chanting or hearing about Krishna. We must have firm faith in this. We must have the conviction that this is the right thing, that this is going to get me to Krishna, and that this will ultimately bring me all success in life. So, like Prabhupada said in the purports, if the whole world follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then everything will become successful. We just need to do it with absolute firm faith and conviction. So I will stop here. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any comments or anything they would like to share? I don't think she wanted to say it, but now you kind of have to.
Okay. Thank you for this very sweet class. Maybe just a comment then that I really like the way Prabhupada defined Hari, because there's so much fear, like you were saying, with abandon all varieties of religion. There's so much fear in when Krishna takes things away, but actually the point that you made, that actually what he's taking away is all the miseries. And I thought that's a nice definition. I never really heard it like that before. And then when you were quoting 1866, abandon all varieties of religion, I was just reflecting that religion can be so many things. We can take so many things as our religion, and ultimately everything needs to be abandoned. And that's how we abandon fear.
Yeah, I remember always in the beginning being quite confused by that, because why religion? But again, it's like you said, it's anything can be religion, like anything that someone follows. Like, for example, in China, they don't necessarily follow religion like we understand it, but money and government and community is their religion, in a sense. So it's all of those things that we think is going to bring us shelter, ultimately. Thank you, everyone. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.